that away.
All right, Alistair or Ban, an option for G2. San Francisco's getting behind CLG. As we take a look through, no surprises so far. Siva for Zven, Assault towards Huhi. Interesting to see the Gnar ban, so that's away from Expect and Darshan. So if CLG have the option to go back to last week's style, which did net them 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean, this was our first game of the tournament. It had G2 with Syndra and Jace as their solo laners. CLG had Poppy and Vladimir, which ended up working quite well, but as the analyst desk said, very predictable ban so far from G2, Aurelion Sol and Caitlyn.
So what does CLG do with their last ban? Can keep looking at those high tier picks, Nidalee, Syndra, Elise. Syndra maybe less high tier because Huhi just didn't do very well with it.
I don't think you blue side banned Syndra, even though Huhi was targeted and he didn't do that well, and that was one of the games that CLG did lose. I think they are very happy if Huhi does get Syndra. He's comfortable on the champion. That was definitely not a good performance, but I don't think they'll shy away from it.
And we're actually in a situation where both of these teams' mid laners have had bad games on Syndra, so it might not actually be a super high priority pick this early on, but I still wouldn't be surprised if we saw it because it can be so lane dog.
Because of what the champion can do, not necessarily what the players have done with it.
Yeah, and I also think CLG is one of the teams that varies their overall strategy the most from game to game. We've seen them go with 4 to 5 initiators versus 4 to 5 poke champions, so it's really hard to predict what they're doing. Now that they have the Poppy, though, I think they're going for the initiation.
They're going right back to standard teamfight comp, right? They just had their little foray into the all damage, siege up, Darshan on a carry, and they're like, nope, that did not work. We did not like the way that went, so they're going to take the Poppy very early on because they know that G2 actually have had sort of a similar style with Expect. Not a lot of high praise for him coming into the tournament, and so sticking them on the front line has been the go-to objective. I still think they'll do that just with a different frontliner.
Feels like that's the option. Hovers there on Echo. Trundle still up and available, something that's been played as well. G2 right now, however, going to prioritize Trix Olaf, which was banned out against him earlier today, and that was the champion that almost got G2 a win against Rox Tigers last week.
Yeah, with Nidalee banned, I'd argue, at least between Xmithie and Trick, that Olaf's the best jungler on the board for both of them. They both had exceptional games on it. I like the Ezreal as well, because if they're expecting CLG to go with an initiation-heavy team composition, Ezreal is very elusive, and that's 2 power picks so far for G2.
Also, if you have an Olaf, diving forward, and your front line is going to be going very offensively, Olaf wants to probably dive buddy with him, then Ezreal, self-sufficient, has the flexibility to either follow up if you have the momentum in a team fight and you're pressing them back if you're moving up on them, or, if he has to fend for himself in the back line, the extra arcane shift is very valuable.
Calm is still up, something that both teams have played, have shown fairly high priority on that champion this tournament, actually. And it could complement both sides of the draft. For CLG, a couple seconds left to lock in their second rotation. And it's a much slower pace to what we're used to seeing because there's so much more on the line now for CLG.
Absolutely. They're really making sure they're nailing these picks, and it takes until the last second for them to swap both of those picks really at the last minute. So I would say they're still having a lot of discussion on what exactly they should be having here. I thought the Rek'Sai would have made a lot of sense as far as the initiation that they'd be going for, but the Graves is going to have to be a bit of a hard farmer.
Yeah, so the thing about Rek'Sai is did get a lot of recent nerfs that are basically stat nerfs, and everyone shrugged it off initially as like, yeah, Rek'Sai still does all the things that Rek'Sai you want to do. But the win rate has been dropping for the champion, not only just in solo queue, but also here at Worlds. It's 1 in 5 currently, so they're not going to go with that champion and go back to the Graves, which does scale very well, right? This is a jungler, you're going to take the red smite, you can fight off a lot of divers. So we'll see how Xmithie does, because that does, reduce your early game kind of on Graves to farming and counter jungling and counter ganking. You're not really one to go to a lane and create a lot of action for yourself. Maybe if your laners have their own CC, say, a Poppy is facing something without a flash, then there's a possibility, but not really going to create his own picks.
Well, this time around, luckily for that Jhin, some long-range engage and some root on the side of CLG can help them out. Solo lane is locked in for G2. Going to leave support to last pick, something that we actually saw fairly frequently at the end of the summer split in Europe. And when you've got a player like Mithy, that could make or break your team comp.
I agree with that, but I also say it's interesting how Syndra has fallen so far in the draft phase for these two teams. They do not seem to have a high level of trust in their ability to carry through the mid lane, so I would not be surprised if Huhi just picks Vladimir against it like we saw in the first game these teams played.
I think that's definitely the direction that they're going towards. I mean, they have the 2 AD carries for that attack damage threat with their jungle and their bottom lane, and then Darshan's ready to be the playmaker for the guys on the front line. But again, I am very surprised, just like you, that she has gone through. The pick before that Huhi used was the Vladimir, not really as a counter or anything, but just to make it through the lane phase, because Vladimir loves building into that Spirit Visage very early on. So you build your magic resistance early, you sustain through the lane. It's not really about taking control away from PerkZ.
And the Vladimir is locked in along with the Braum, so we've got CLG's full composition. Fairly good front line with Poppy, Graves, and Braum. Lots of follow-up, lots of scaling. There's options here for CLG, and it's the flavor of week 1 for the team.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of options for G2. They could still go with the relatively good poke composition with the Ezreal Syndra if they wanted to take a Karma support, or they can do something very initiation heavy like an Alistar.
Yeah, G2 so far with the first 4 lock-ins, they have either S tier or tier 1 champions in pretty much all roles. Maybe the Olaf is up for debate, coming into Worlds, but seeing how well Olaf has done here, I would definitely move him up the ranks. So as far as just pure strength as an individual champion, just across the board, pretty good. And they do have great backline access, right? Olaf and Rumble both can punish a Jhin very heavily.
And I also think if we were to time this is probably the longest pick and ban phase we've had at Worlds. I think every single team waited until the last second to finish those lock-ins. So a lot of discussion going on between these teams trying to counter each other's picks.
And we talked about the front line for CLG looking very sturdy. If you have that support, Trundle still has the ultimate to try and shred for the late game with the Poppy that will be building mostly defensive stats and try and take some of those away.
And we've seen the impacts already of Trundle pillars stopping Poppy and initiations. Mithy gonna need to look to do something more, and part of the timing and the slow pace. CLG, if they lose this game, their road to quarterfinals is significantly harder.
Yes.
What it will mean is Albus Nox will qualify for quarterfinals, and then we need to see the results of the Rocks Tigers games later in the day.
Yeah, the road is going to be tough for CLG, but like you said, it's not totally over for them if they lose this, but they do lose control over what will happen in the group if they lose this game.
Traditionally, CLG have been a pretty mentally strong team. And heading into this one, this is a very high-pressure situation for them, whereas G2 do not have anything to worry about, as they said on the analyst desk, except for their own pride. So if you do take a look at the psychological standpoints of both these teams, might be an advantage for G2.
Yeah, and I feel like both of these teams have to battle their own internal demons here. G2 was 2-8 at MSI, and even though CLG did better at MSI, they had the 0-3 week 2 last year at Worlds after starting 2-1, and 3/5 of that roster is back right here. So neither of these teams want to have the defeatist feeling again, and they're going to have to fight back against it right now.
And my God, it is early to say this, and I regret it before I even do, but we actually could have another 0-win week for North America.
We are one game into 0-win count, Kobe.
It is just stuck in my head since last year. And
11 straight games NA has lost in week 2 of the World's group stage.
Luckily, it cannot be both North American and European regions going 0-10, because one of them has to win here.
Progress, man. We did it.
A little bit of trading here in the mid lane.
A lot of trading. All right.
And you also have to wonder how loose G2 is going to be playing this game. They were playing very frantic in their game against Rocks. Maybe they go even faster paced in this one if they've actually kind of just embraced the fact that they are the troublemakers in this group and they can ruin things. Maybe they play super, super loose.
Definitely true. And the area where G2 really have dropped behind the other teams is in the mid-game calls. When objectives are under pressure, when there's a choice between defending this turret, moving mid to clear that wave, G2 have been punished so many times trying to defend turrets undermanned and just getting dove and then giving up kills plus the objective. So if they do go with that kind of troublemaker attitude, they still need to bring that focus to the mid-game objectives.
Exactly, and speaking of focus, both of these teams lost their games today by being over-aggressive. and exposing themselves where they should have actually been playing more passive. So you have to wonder whether they're just going to try and clean up their aggression or if they're going to try and adjust to a more passive mindset and hope to punish the other team's mistakes.
Well, those questions will be answered soon, and the last time Trick got his hands on that Olaf, he had very good repeated ganks in the bottom lane. A little bit of a reload there. However, Trick did spend a couple of minutes in the mid lane looking to try help out PerkZ, which just hurt his initial clear ever so slightly.
Loses the gold on 2 of the melees there because they didn't quite get the Krug before reload, but did get the experience, and experience is what they're going for here. Trying to get that level 2. Stixxay did.
Yeah, so did Zven. Both these guys started camp, so they got level 2 very early on in the lane, but Trundle does need to be able to get a shove if he wants to have a strong laning phase, and currently they have it.
Pushing forward, good pillar of ice as Stixxay's reloading. Safe time to engage. PerkZ fairly aggressive to clear out those Raptors. Did he get all 3? I think he did.
Yeah,
Back away.
it's actually a
observers.
huge takeaway.
Steal the camp away. And over on Riot Games 2, Xmithie versus Trick. Jungle focus stream. C for Stress and Nori. You guys go check that one out. If you are a jungle main or if you want to learn how to deal with jungles.
Props to PerkZ there, though, denying the Raptors and also getting vision on Xmithie allows Trick a lot of freedom. He can safely jungle at low health, speed through, take the Scuttle Crab, and now COD's getting pretty low. Maybe Trick goes for some.
Very good exchange there from G2 in the minion wave. The cannon minion also adding a lot of damage.
Wow.
And Sven landing Mystic shots.
Flash and heal available for Stixxay. Undertow is going to get flashed away from Exhaust, comes out. Trick gets rooted, but successful gank in the bottom lane.
Hugely successful momentum down here for G2, as they will now also attempt to punish under the turret, throwing more Mystic shots out as they try and CS. Meanwhile, Xmithie immediately, we talked about the jungler paths, and yes, the expected answer to a bottom lane gank showing like that is to immediately move in, counter jungle the red side. There are 3 camps available for him to take. Takes the red buff, but actually opts for top pressure instead.
Yeah, and it actually feels like Expect doesn't quite have the necessary ward here. They should have been expecting the gank. He overheats and goes for Darshan.
A lot of damage. Minions as well. Electro Harpoon's coming out. Expect is now going to turn his attention to Xmithie. Forced to flash away. Trick's looking for more. Into the line. Flash! The buckler! Oh! He's going to get the kill, but I held my breath.
Yeah, exactly, because Darshan actually started trading very early to quote-unquote bait there and almost, push himself out of the lane, but able to survive, able to, have Expect push up even further in the lane, and they barely convert on that first blood. Definitely a tense moment for CLG, but they do find it.
And this is a really long cost of the gank bottom lane because that set up the Xmithie invade and eventually gave him the position to start the gank. But as you mentioned, the early overheat puts Expect in a bad position.
And remember, they also traded the flashes here, so both top laners are vulnerable, do not have flash. These are double melee top laners. These are both heavily exchanging damage very early on, so warding around top lane will be important.
Yeah, and we got to see in that replay how much Xmithie was trying to give that last hit to Darshan. That's one of the big reasons he flashed forward, is he was really trying to get the last hit there. Couldn't quite get it. It means Xmithie gets his items faster, but they really wanted to give Darshan an edge in that top lane.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, PerkZ is pushing in the Vladimir, early on before a lot of the magic resistance really does come in. And a lot of the CS advantage that PerkZ does have are those small Raptors. So they aren't full minions giving the full gold value, but they still are substantial.
It's only a 100 gold advantage PerkZ has, but the amount of map pressure he's applying right now is actually pretty substantial as long as they're able to communicate about where the jungler should be, because I really do feel like Expect's gank could have been completely avoided if the team had just communicated a little bit better.
Yeah, you have to always think about where the options for the enemy jungler could be. If I was Xmithie, where would I be going? Well, Trick just showed bottom. Probably going to go counter jungle my top side since I left all those camps up, and Expect does not back off, so CLG did convert, but now they do know for sure Xmithie is on the bottom side, so 100%.
Walk across the ward, that allows Sven and Mithy to back away safely, and G2 500 gold down. Thanks to that first blood, small CS advantage only in the top lane because PerkZ has left the lane to back away. is now moving back with that lost chapter. And good trade onto Stixxay actually here for Mithy.
Yeah, remember that Zven is also a potion up right now on Stixxay, in addition to the health levels that they're currently sitting at. So that's why you can see CLG are a little bit scared moving up, and they've called Xmithie here to help them push this wave in. So him walking through that ward isn't hugely impactful. The whole call there was to get up to the turret so that they can get out of there. Darshan needs to get out of there, though.
Well, sends Trick packing. PerkZ ghosted. Equalizer as well. So there's a lot of pressure. PerkZ needs to find the stun. Flash is available. Scatter the weak finds nobody.
PerkZ had Flash. He could have tried to go for that, but that's a big investment. They deny a minion wave, don't get a kill, don't get a turret.
Instead, they will get a blue buff. And only some pressure on the top half of the map. Look at the mini-map, though. PerkZ and Trick, they've now got to get away. Teleport from Darshan in the top tower. Xmithie's not away. Huhi's flashed forward. Hemoplague's down. Trick is running for his life. Ragnarocking away. PerkZ will go down. Sends out the balls, but Xmithie survives.
And that is so similar to the way the Vladimir Syndra matchup played the first time these guys met. Huhi immediately gets a Spectre's Clow and then just jumps on top of PerkZ. Once you get on top of Syndra, you really eliminate her strengths right there. CLG punished the over-aggressive dive from G2.
Xmithie gets the blue buff as well here. You can see timing the smite right after PerkZ throws it down. Boom.
Why throw it back at him? Maybe because he's trying to get harassed, but that's just a distraction for Huhi who's coming in.
There was no way they were going to get that blue since Trick didn't have his own smite. So not much to do with it. I think it was trying to get the slow there, since there's not really any way they can actually get the blue. But man, Huhi does not hesitate, moves in, able to get the kill with Vladimir as well, and that's going to catapult him to a Spirit's Visage, which is that important breakpoint we talk about for the mid lane. The mid lane Vladimir becomes this immobile, healing juggernaut. You can't push him out of the mid lane. Constant heals coming in from the Q.
That's exactly what CLG are going to be looking for. 1,000 gold up before 10 minutes. Trick just shows his face in the mid lane. Huhi was able to sidestep Scatter the Weak, I think that was. And continues to control the tempo. G2, they're now playing from behind. And Mithy and Zven are separated here, actually. Aphro's going to be zoning Mithy away.
Yeah, so we've always had this, teleport actually coming in, they're going.
Equalizer's available, very good blocking of the vision, expect Force to run away. Deadly Flourish roots Mithy down, it ends up being a little bit of a fumble, slightly awkward attempt, and a wasted teleport.
Yeah, and the hard initiation isn't necessarily there, but you have to wonder if they continue and can get the turret. Darshan cannot match, so they may end up getting first turret blood just for TPing.
Big difference here, though, is that CLG are backing off. They're not going to drop the extra kills. So it wasn't a fully wasted TP. Oh, actually, they're dealing.
They don't want to give up the turret.
Looking for the roots. Sven's going to be able to sidestep. No damage has been dealt. Curtain Call fires. 1, 2, third connects as well, and the fourth shot held in. Oh! Not yet! Mithy survives. The Deadly Flourish. It might have enough range. Stixxay's looking for it. I don't think he can. Opportunistic, but Mithy survives.
And that's the type of play that was missing from CLG in the match against Albus Nox. They backed away, but measured their aggression in trying to stop the push by layering their ultimates in the right fashion, and they prevent the push from working.
Also, I have to check the replay, but since they didn't have PerkZ commit, I mean, he got one wave shoving in mid lane and denied a bit of minions, but committing 5 people to try and get first blood could be a way to get that extra gold back in your favor. They don't do it and only got about half of that turret, whereas Darshan up top got to even up the CS.
Oh, here comes Trick. He's ghosted in. Stixxay's got a flash already used. Pick up the axe. Aphro throws down the Fisher, but the kill's donated. Sven's looking for more. He's already used his true shot barrage. CLG have got their third.
Trick just running head first into his own demise. How was that ever going to work? They had the heal up and he just dies.
Expect is running for his life. He's overheating. Darshan pinned him against the wall. And at 10 minutes, CLG in control.
Plus, not only did they kill Trick, but he showed bottom, so Xmithie once again can move in. Look at this heal bait. I mean, Trick, you gotta talk to the rest of your team. Communicate that this is not worth going, because it seemed like it was on a one-man mission, but there's Xmithie with the sidestep.
Dodged it! The quick draw! Collateral damage, not gonna fire it, holding on to it for now. Xmithie decides not to chase further.
And Xmithie was there because, as we said, Trick also showing bottom, he moves in for some extra CS, steals away another camp.
CLG definitely looking good, and now they're getting the deep vision as well. Look at the 3 wards they've been able to place in the side of G2's jungle. It's because they consistently win these small exchanges. Sometimes G2, much like their game against Rox earlier, are in a pretty good place, but their execution is just fumbling along, and they still look quite frantic.
Not making any of those plays stick. And that's what's costing them this game. It's been costing them the tournament. Mithy's going to be in trouble in just a moment.
A lot of trouble.
Quick draw over the wall, into the line, should be able to bounce shortly. Collateral not even going to get needed. Huhi picks up the kill. This leaves Zven in a terrible position. He should be able to flash over the wall and does. The rest of CLG turn their sights to the tower. Tower first blood is the target, and they should be able to get it.
Yeah, and whenever you see Huhi roaming around outside of lane, if he can escape that laning phase, CLG is at their best. It allows them to unlock so many plays. Xmithie has a lot of farm. He opened up, and it's going quite well. GG pushing mid.
They're trying to delay the bottom first turret by killing off the range minions and beat them to the chase here. CLG actually pull off the bottom turret, but they'll get it anyways. Yeah, good attempt there, kind of idea, but definitely not close enough as far as the tower health went to begin with.
So the G2 lose another kill. They lose tower first blood. They lose positioning on Dragon, and CLG secure the first mountain uncontested. As we approach 15 minutes, this is exactly what CLG was hoping to do, bouncing back from the defeat to Albus-Nox.
And the mental fortitude required to bounce back is pretty impressive to me. 15 minutes after they suffer a devastating loss against Albus-Nox, they completely change up their pick and ban phase. Xmithie jumps on the Graves, which Stayos one player of the game against him with, and they're up 4-0. The goal lead is almost exactly mirrored to when it was against Albus-Nox right now. I actually believe it was 22,019K exactly in that last game.
And Huhi with the level advantage, with the Spirit Visage, pushing PerkZ away, zoning him time and time again.
This is that just control point now. It becomes so difficult to push a Vladimir out of mid with Spirit Visage completed so early due to the extra kills he's getting. He is a rock for the team now in comparison to last game where mid lane was not able to gain a lot of control with the Karma, and they weren't able to make any plays.
Yeah, and it's also a problem G2 is running into right now. They're heavily indexed in mid-game double AP power spikes with the Rumble and the Syndra, considering they have a tier Ezreal who needs to hit about 25 minutes before he's starting to deal substantial damage. So they have the double Spirit Visage on the 2 tanks, making it nigh impossible for G2 to actually win a standard team fight right now, and it's going to allow CLG to extend this lead. It's the reverse of what CLG just ran into when all they had was physical damage early on in the game and the enemy team stacked armor.
So good signs for CLG. Especially when you look at the group. They need some wins here against G2 and then Rox if they're looking to advance. Darshan dashes forward with that charge, looking very heroic as he does it. Still down CS, but it doesn't matter. Tower, the Dragons, the assist, there you go. Ahead in gold because of how the team is playing. And CLG looking to unlock more as they're sieging this mid-outer turrets.
Yeah, G2 should be able to clear out these waves, especially with the added support of Ezreal ultimate, as Sven stays bottom to farm. Looks like no extra pressure will come of it, as Stixxay again going back down bottom. Doesn't want to let those minions go to waste. Doesn't lose any.
Yeah, good job.
Still down substantially in CS to Zven. That's what happens sometimes when G2 sends so many people down to that bottom side, but they've withstood the pressure and they're making plays on the other side.
Got a ward on him.
Xmithie's got a lot of damage, dashes in, into the line.
He's gotta be careful.
Collateral damage should come out. Expect flashes.
It's a respect flash. If Xmithie gets one more auto attack in, he would have been able to kill him with the ult, so Expect had to do that. Down
bottom, G2 are making a power play, though. They want to try and at least answer with a turret on the other side of the map as they call Trick down to force CLG off of the turret, and they do get that. First objective of the game for G2.
Traded, though, with a kill in favor of CLG. It just feels like it's falling apart at the seams. Vladimir is ahead of PerkZ Syndra. That Syndra did not have the early game impact that you felt it maybe needed. And now it's going to be so difficult to burst down really anybody on the front line of CLG.
We, again, revisit the theme of player mentalities heading into their games today. As you play the whole group today, mental fortitude is such an important factor. And a lot of the veterans and a lot of the teams that have played together for such a long time have an advantage in that area. G2, if they lose this game, they only have one game left at Worlds to try and find a victory. And that's got to be weighing on them, even just getting behind early in this game.
Exactly. And you even look at a player like Trick, who won back-to-back European LCS MVPs, had a poor showing at MSI, is again having a very poor showing with an inexplicable death earlier on in this game. That pressure does really seem to be weighing on their shoulders.
A difficult situation for the team to be in as well, because they picked up the best bottom lane in EU from spring to summer, but have just not found consistency for their top lane play. Stixxay sports out. It's going to get blocked. Aphromoo saves the day, puts up the wall. Stixxay flashes to safety. Glacial Fissure comes down. Afro's still buying time, and somehow CLG have survived. Darshan's able to complete the teleport. He's joined the fight. Huhi is looking for PerkZ. PerkZ flashes over the wall. There is a kill onto Mithy. G2 have lost another. PerkZ is running for his life. Equalizer available for Expect. Decent enough stun as Aphro catches it, but there's no more follow-up for G2.
Mithy was pixels away from sinking his teeth into Stixxay, but CLG get out just barely, and then the collapse from both solo laners punish G2. Oh, what that one? That's gonna be the kicker.
Exactly. With the way this fight started, a clean stun into an ultimate. How does CLG walk away 1-0 in this fight, especially with what ensues? Mithy wasn't close enough actually to get the bite because there was a delay in Stixxay's flash backwards, and then they open up with the curtain call. Darshan teleports in, and even this is slow. PerkZ paths away from the rest of his team. He gets chased down by Huhi, and the nice wall stun there by Darshan on top of Mithy, and then the Swagger to just tank a bunch of damage as they continue to defend the turret.
So worrying for this G2 team because the mid game has not been their strong suit. Even in the games where they do get early gold leads, they have struggled here to find themselves. And it's one of the things that Mithy was vocal about even over in the European LCS. Yeah, they feel like they have a lot of individual talent, but the macro game was a little bit loose.
And for CLG, their macro game has to be good to close this game out. It's a substantial lead at 20 minutes. It's really been well controlled for CLG. But the one thing that is good for them, they then have a 2-game break to figure out what they're going to do against Rocks Tigers, because it's Rocks Tigers, CLG, and obviously Albus Nox competing for 2 spots in quarterfinals.
And with the way this group is, those 3 teams all control their own destiny. If they win the remainder of their games in the tiebreakers, they're through as first place in the group. No one can stop any of those teams except each other. So CLG, if they win this, would still need to be able to beat Rocks, and they'd be in a pretty safe spot. That's trouble, though.
It's a dragon for Aphromoo's life, and G2 had to throw everything at Aphro just to pick up that kill.
Let's see if they can convert into an objective also, because the mid turret's already low. They have a single man advantage. They still have the Rumble ultimate to threaten and at least push CLG off.
Lateral damage, curtain call as well. Tower still stands. Down low, Mithy's in trouble. Curtain call dealt so much, and PerkZ is rooted in place. Stixxay gets a kill. Now Mithy dies as well. G2, they're just falling apart. And CLG, they're looking to set up a counter push.
The second time in a row, CLG defends with the Jhin and a Graves ultimate, and G2 just wasn't willing to finish off the turret, and then they still die afterwards.
Uh-oh, they're still not out of the woods yet either. Ghost popped there by Trick. I mean, nobody can answer the Vladimir in the split push. As you said, Darshan also has a Spirit Vision, so no one can push Darshan out of a split push either, and they just keep these 2 solo laners pressing up on the sides, daring G2 to try and make a move. As soon as G2 even make 1 step across the half-court line, immediate collapse from CLG, they punish them.
Yeah, Huhi was ghosting all the way from River. Darshan was able to find a flank, and G2 is just getting competitively punished. Watch this one more time. Both of the solo laners on CLG just run in from the River. They're slowed enough by the Jhin ultimate. Huhi and Darshan both get onto PerkZ, and the Rumble ultimate completely whiffs, doesn't stop the initiation from CLG. Just a bunch of misses there from G2.
Again, 2 games today at G2 have just been off the mark when it comes to controlling the champions, when it comes to controlling the pace of the fight. But for CLG, it's been great reactive play. They've punished G2 every time G2 have made a play, and now with the lead that CLG have built up, it's up to them when they start to siege, up to them when they start to push into G2's territory.
Yeah, second major item completed by all 4 major damage dealers by CLG, whereas G2 is sitting on just Zven, who has a Trinity Force completed. So a really big power spike here for CLG, where they should look to get more deep vision and start taking some pressure on the interior turrets.
Exactly. Again, fan out into your 1-3-1. They have very strong sidelines, but G2 make a move mid.
PerkZ actually
Ghosted for it.
for that one. Found a stun onto Aphro and then decided not to.
CLG, they just need to keep their calm because, as we said, no one can answer either of those split pushers. Darshan can hold bottom while Huhi gets some work done on the top side, and they are slowly gaining advantages. Zven moves up, though, trying to defend.
Well, Darshan's going to go toe-to-toe with Expect. Gonna hop in a little bit wide.
Yeah.
Darshan's going to start to overheat soon. Another pin against the wall. Darshan's looking for more. There's flashes available for both. Not going to get rooted, and Stixxay is donated a kill,
And yes, Darshan made some good plays there, but Expect is not playing at the top of his game. He allowed Darshan to walk up and get a wall stun from nothing there.
absolutely did. Xmithie failed flashes, finds the wall. Mithy's looking to run it down. Two-shot barrage, gets the kill, but Darshan finds PerkZ, pins him against the wall with the heroic charge. Zven can't run away. He's got red buff trying to do some damage, but it's now or never. Huhi pulls up, Sanguine's away. Trick is the target, should get rooted by the Braum passive. Stixxay gets the damage onto Zven. Deadly Flourish, not going to get used just yet, and Curtain Call has already fired. Mithy is running for his life, but
He can troll around, though, waste some time. See, oh, he's actually not even going to run for it.
Sneak through it.
and he missed the cheeky attempt, gets rooted in play.
he did it!
Pillar of Ice, and Mithy survives.
Mithy with the okie doker, waiting in the dry bush to expect him to run for his life, but oh my goodness, ducking through. All right, so this was also pretty impressive to me that Mithy flashes over the wall and leaves Xmithie to die to the ultimate from Zven.
But why'd he flash over the wall? There was no one over there. He needed to be able to stay in a plan right there. Master plan. That's how he's going to make his escape. I think that was just a really messy fight overall. Xmithie failed flashed after getting caught early. CLG still able to make it an even fight afterwards. The, what'd you call it? Escape back by Mithy at the very end. The okey-doke. There we go.
And in the messy fights, the richest man always wins, right? The extra gold that you bring to a messy fight, it's gonna give you the edge.
I like that line, Kobe. And this game is defined by 5 richer men for Counter Logic Gaming. It also is a little disheartening when the best play that G2 have made in 25 minutes is Mithy running away from a fight. Unfortunately, just not there, and let's see if we can do it again. Subjugator's up. No, gonna walk across the trap. Dodges 2. Oakley Dokely. He's done it again. 2-0. Right, Mithy.
Always remember the day.
You almost caught Mithy. And again it happens. Spin this time
really
around.
bad for CLG.
CLG. Aphromoo survives. Doesn't die to the undertow. Trick, however, is running for his life. Huhi's been able to turn it around. Expect completes the teleport. Holds on to his equalizer. And it doesn't matter because G2 once again lose the fight in the objective.
Well, they eventually caught Mithy. That's the 4th death for him right here. 11 kills to 2. CLG in very strong control here, trying to stay alive in the group stage. Now they're just diving.
Yeah, they really are.
Abort!
Ghosts in with the Sanguine pool. Equalizer used from Expect just to try and cut the wave in half. So at least G2 hold on to the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple small things that G2 can hold on to, but it's going to be very difficult for them to hold on to their base. This is a very big lead for CLG. They have complete control of the map, with Infernal Drake also spawning on the map. That's going to further enable their snowball. And G2...
Yeah, watching this fight one more time. Mithy pretty low. Darshan knocks him up, but then Zven can't get over the wall. Stixxay can with his flash, gets the 4th critical shot on him. He also falls in the back, but he do sneak the Drake.
They do sneak Infernal, which is worth a decent amount at this stage in the game, and they're even able to escape with their lives. So
Definitely.
cheeky play indeed. And PerkZ should get hold of his blue buff as well.
Kind of curious how CLG had the poor back timings to allow that to happen, but it's still very heady play by G2, and now Huhi forced to pull away.
There is a Proto Belt still available for Huhi if he needs it. Transfusion coming out, Hemoplague's available. Pillar of Ice is going to slow down G2's advance. CLG's retreat. It's the correct way that will work. And G2, they don't get anything more.
Yeah, and I think, again, you know, G2, they don't have much vision to work with, but winning that fight, they can try and get a little bit back, because they just want to delay this game. That stealing away that Infernal Drake actually does a huge amount to try and help them delay. And now it's about trying to get those small pieces of vision anywhere that you can get, and hope that you can play the next 10 minutes of the game out without giving up a whole bunch more to CLG. Because it's going to be very difficult as CLG have such a big lead.
Yeah, but CLG are playing very fast and loose now. The first 20 minutes of the game looked very different to the last 7. And CLG multiple times have been fairly scattered, fairly sporadic around the map. And while G2 haven't been able to capitalize, they're not being shut down, like super heavy or super clean, like we've seen some other teams do.
Yeah, but I will say CLG also know how to pull the trigger with the gold lead. They're also very good at playing an even gold game. So when they have a 7,000 gold lead, I think they take a lot of liberties with the types of plays they're willing to attempt. So I don't think this will stretch out very long. I think CLG will either set up Darshan in the bottom lane and then start getting some deep vision towards the Baron pit and just force G2 into a decision where they've made a lot of poor decisions so far here at Worlds.
One of the reasons a lot of the AD carries have spoken out in favor of the Jhin pick is as you get towards this late stage where, yes, you do have this big lead, having the long-range pick potential of your AD carry, you know, having snares and having the ultimate to slow people down, enables you to bait Baron very, very well. Because you have your AD carry there for DPS on the Baron, plus the ability to snare if G2 are trying to venture through their red quadrant of the jungle and come. Woo!
Well, dash over the wall. Xmithie knew he was fine. He was safe. No teleport for Expect for a few seconds longer. He's down in the bottom lane, going toe-to-toe with Darshan. Huhi up top, run into a little bit of trouble. Still got protopels, flash. He's got everything. That was tiny bit of.
He's got a Guardian Angel as well, so.
Yep.
Or Darshan, excuse me.
Darshan does. And G2 contesting vision, but coming away worse for wear. This time around, Trick, Deadman's Plates. Gonna get him into combat range a little quicker, but it's just a vision game. CLG playing the numbers, playing the time, and then gonna set up for the big Baron Nasher.
Definitely seems like the plan. Maybe they can try and get a pick while G2 is clearing vision in the jungle. Here's what Xmithie is trying to wait to do. Sneak around a little bit. Can't quite do it.
Not pulling the trigger though. Slow and steady here for CLG.
Good axe there to check through the middle of the brush rather than just in the front. Xmithie is taking some poke here. You know, running frontline for the Vision Wars. CLG actually,
is this too slow? Because like it feels like CLG are giving a lot of respect to G2 despite a very large lead.
it is a little bit slow, but again, if we visit the player mentalities, right? CLG really need this game, considering how close the top of this group is. They cannot afford to give away a Baron by, starting it super early. That being said, they could take a little bit more liberty with the aggressive moves for picks in the red quadrant. G2 have been, fairly aggressively getting vision back in their red quadrant, getting up to the Baron.
Yeah.
It's a little punishment.
And also with Darshan going the Guardian Angel rather than something like an Iceborne Gauntlet, while it gives him some more defenses, he doesn't have split push pressure on Expect. I don't think he's going to solo kill him again, which makes it more difficult for CLG to actually get an advantage while forcing Expect to teleport in.
Definitely. An Iceborne Gauntlet or something adding a little bit more kill threat might be something, more turn the tides of the split push.
Trying to poke.
Yeah. Trying to get some damage done so they can brute force this mid turret. And Zven actually gets caught out, has to
Forced
flash.
the flash away, almost got rooted by the flourish. Taking a look at some of the spells, nothing else invested here from G2, but CLG, they pull the trigger. It starts with 4 trigger pulls on the curtain call. He's in a little bit of trouble. Very good combo play. Wow, root onto Zven. He might just go down. Survives the ultimate. Now Huhi's the focus. PerkZ gets shut down. Darshan comes in from the side. That's the tower falling. And CLG have got minions to work with. Expect can use that equalizer. Does it to clear out the wave. Darshan's not done. Expects the target. He'll get stunned and killed. Huhi is unstoppable. Darshan finds 2. Trick is running for his life. Ragnarok is up. Zven rejoins the fight with full health and mana. The Pillar of Ice
still alive, though.
down CLG. CLG still trying to back away. Mithy's going to be the target. Not going to get killed just yet. as 5 men from North America back away. They could go for the inhibitor, but they're very, very low. Deciding to stick. It's a 5-on-3. Sven's throwing out mystic shots. His tag eats the chair, sidesteps the flourish, but the inhibitor will fall. Huhi uses the pool to escape, and CLG make it look relatively easy.
Huhi literally 1v5 flashes into the enemy team. They rush down the turret and push inside the base. There's your decisiveness. They decided that the Baron bait is a little bit too tricky, too risky.
Yeah.
They decided to go for the tower dive instead, and they're still sticking around.
Well, the Baron could have been started. They're just going to continue to go in.
This could be the game-winning play. Mithy's going to die on the side. Darshan's running him down. Stixxay goes unstoppable as well. That's a kill. Huhi trades his life, though. It's not done yet. Expect's looking on the back line. Stixxay should be able to pick this up. Overheat. Expect doesn't have the damage. It's a messy fight once again. PerkZ is looking for more. He's found Aphromoo. Stixxay's low. Darshan slams PerkZ into the wall. And G2 lose 4.
Darshan gets the kill at the end as well, and that will be a CLG Baron on top of it.
That's the bloodbath we've been waiting for as far as G2 throwing themselves at CLG, and CLG willing to stand strong and fight back. G2 saw a window there where they thought they could get some kills on a very far ahead CLG, cash in some of those bigger bounties, but they couldn't quite pull it off. And this was after a long fight already. CLG and G2 both go in for the re-engage.
All right, started off with PerkZ taking down Huhi, and then the flash from Expect off screen to get melee range of Stixxay, trying to get the 1v2, does flash out of the snare, but not able to have the damage to finish it off. And then PerkZ, he sees that there's only one way out of this, and that's back to the fountain, so he's taking someone with him, and goes for the exchange kill on Aphro.
Good flash from Stixxay as well to dodge out that force of will. And at 33 minutes, CLG have a 12,000 gold lead. Gonna grab their 3rd dragon of the game. They've got Baron. They've got supers. It is a formality for CLG to knock down the Nexus with the gigantic lead they have.
And we mentioned in the fight where they were able to take the mid lane inhibitor that Huhi went in 4v1. And it's this ongoing trend here at Worlds where before the game, you kind of have to ask, who is he? Who is the player that's going to show up? Is it the guy that feeds in the mid lane and is a pressure vacuum? Or is he going to 1v5 the enemy team? Because he has had some incredible performances. Good games on Vladimir, good games on Aurelion Sol, and some atrocious performances like the Karma he played against ANX. So really, if there is a wild card in this group, it's Huhi.
The terrifying thing is, you've seen both sides of Huhi within 3 games. Now he's got a little bit of time to cool down and calm off because CLG will play the Rocks Tigers as the very last game of the day, with the exception of tiebreakers. If we find ourselves in that scenario, the CLG still going to close this one out, but with Baron, with supers, and with G2 looking incapable of winning team fights. Obviously with the deficit as well. It is just a matter of time. Playing all 3 lanes there for CLG.
Yeah, this is the strat that CLG became known for. It's a 1-1-3, it's close to the 1-3-1, but they're very comfortable having their solo lanes off on the side and playing with the Xmithie, Stixxay, Aphromoo squad, and they're just going to try and shift down to get a 3 inhibitor lead.
Well, showing a little aggressive here on Expect. Under the tower and had that laser beam burning away his HP. Tower's down to what, about 3rd HP. Stixxay left alone down bottom. He's backing away, got some vision to play with. Safety and by the numbers here for CLG. The irony is, this is one of the games where they didn't perform counter logic to their expectations. They were expected to win, and they're doing so fairly well. Look how easy this is. Sven's just being run down by Huhi. Equalizer should at least kill the minions. Sven is down. PerkZ to follow. 2 members of G2 are dead. Huhi does not care. He's charging up those tides of blood. Trick looks to run down Stixxay. This might not work, though. Trick's looking for more. Stixxay's got the heal, the shield, the back away, the stun onto Trick. Deadly Flourish roots him down, and Stixxay survives the one-on-one with the support of his team.
Huhi annihilated Zven in that fight, and then no one else on G2 could pick up a single kill. This is probably the push to end the game.
CLG bounced back with a dominating victory over G2.
Counter Logic Gaming sit at the top of the group at 3 wins, and CLG have 1 fight left before they qualify for the quarterfinals.
And this group continues to be interesting. Yes, CLG lost to Albus Nox Luna, but you wonder what type of Titan Rox really is after the way all of these games have been falling out. G2 had a bigger lead against Rox than they did against any other team in the group, and I still think there is so much to be decided. CLG proved that you can never fully count them out until they are officially mathematically eliminated, and they have one game left in standard play against Rox, which will happen later today.
And Kobe, it didn't happen 2 years in a row. North America
did it!
In week two.
Take that, week 2.
He's not done yet,
honestly,
because the hardest road is still ahead.
Honestly, yeah, there are still a ton of question marks in this group. And even within this team, you mentioned Huhi. Yes, he is a very obvious one, but also Darshan. Darshan looked very good on Poppy in this game. And you know, how high does CLG prioritize these top lane and team fighting tanks for him now, after seeing the way that the other games have gone for them with the other strategies they're trying to pull out? You know, do CLG focus in on just this strategy now, or do they still have?
It's the only thing that's got them wins.
Yeah. Here's the thing: what's happening now is CLG is getting Aurelion Sol and Caitlyn banned away from them right away. So if they want to go with a strategy like this, maybe, right? That's the second one, because do you think Darshan is more valuable on Poppy or Gnar, or Sol and Vlad? And at this point, we're into like pretty small champion pools. Are they way bigger? We can't really know. I'm really looking forward to that Rox
We
game.
can't know. We'll find out what Rox decide to prioritize, to find out more what the analyst desk has to say about how CLG picked up the win.
Thank you very much, QuickShot. Kobe can breathe easy as North America has picked up their first win here in week 2.